Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for making it. I know it's the longest day of the year, the first day of summer, and everyone has summer on their brains and other things to do, I'm sure. But I always appreciate the opportunity to meet with Chief Brown and for us to be able to talk to him about any issues that have presented themselves on the island. My co-chair and I, Shirley and I, welcome you all. Kevin, would you like to begin?
Sure. Well, thank you to the committee. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Chief Kevin Brown. I'm the Chief of Public Safety at Roosevelt Island. I welcome this, this time, as I truly believe in community policing. And one of the premises of community policing is coming together with the community and to listen, to have different ideas and have a great way to proceed forward. So I welcome this coming to this committee. And like I told somebody this today, my door is open. Anytime that anyone wants to speak with me or my deputy, our door is always open for any comments, for any type of dialogue or any type of meetings to have a great relationship with the community, and also to have a great change that when it's necessary or needed. So in May, the month that we're presently covering, I like to say this too, and I'll say this early and instead of late. Roosevelt Island remains one of the safest places in New York City. I listen to the news, I look around, I talk to other people in law enforcement, and there are things going around in this city that that is not happening on Roosevelt Island, and not even coming close to the things that are going around the city. And I'm going to take a lot of credit and thank the men and women of public safety for keeping this island safe and for assuring that we stay safe. And they do a phenomenal job in creating the atmosphere of safety. So in May, we did, on May 22nd, we honored 2 of our officers who passed away from COVID. It was definitely a long time coming, between scheduling, between the families, getting the families together, between COVID. We just couldn't come up with a viable date that we can get together with the families. And finally, on May 22nd, we were able to bring the families. They were extremely, they expressed their gratitude that the community members and public safety were on hand to honor their loved ones, and they were extremely appreciative. So we not that we closed the chapter, but we got to publicly honor 2 very good officers at public safety, Detective Jones and Officer Fisher. Going forward, PSC, public safety, is as close to full staff as we've been in a long time. We're down one officer and 1 supervisor, and that is because they both resigned last week. Prior to that, we were at 100% full strength, but we will have 2 quick replacements for those 2 officers that resigned last week. They went on to as they call it, a better opportunity in the NYPD. So we're happy for them, but we want to be at full strength with the public safety, especially with the summer months, especially with more people out on the street. We want to make sure that our focus and attention is on the community, and that we do keep our contingent of officers at 100%. With those officers being at 100, at 100%. We are conducting our peace officer training right at this time, where our officers who do not have the peace officer or special patrolman status, they are getting their necessary training so that they can be full Roosevelt Island Public Safety Special Patrolmen with their peace officer status. We are conducting that training at this time, and we are in the process of a long-awaited bike training should be coming up in the next couple of weeks. What's that? Bicycle training.
Okay.
Bicycle training. You know, it really is a benefit to the community, a benefit to the officers to be trained, and we do have the equipment. We have a number of bikes. You know, the officers will be able to maneuver around the island much faster, and in places where they need to patrol, especially on the promenades and throughout, you know, all of the area on Roosevelt Island. And so that training is coming up very soon, in addition to concluding the peace officer training. For the month of May, we had 4 crimes. All 4 crimes consisted of a grand larceny, where a person had their moped stolen. It was a delivery person. They parked their moped, they left it running, and someone hopped on their moped and stole it. One of the crimes that you know I've been working on, and it's just been the crime that it's the most crime that we have on Roosevelt Island are assaults. However, these 2 assaults that we had in the month of May, they were not family disputes, but they were type of fights. There was a fight at the tennis courts where a couple of people who were playing got into an argument, and one person assaulted the other. And then there was also a fight in the motorgate where, again, over something that could possibly have been relatively solved without violence, and one person hit another person with a baseball bat.
Oh.
But that person was quickly arrested by members of public safety. And then we had the robbery down at the Graduate Hotel, where 3 men brandishing firearms did rob a couple of, they weren't patrons of the hotel at the time, they were outside the hotel. It was something that you know, talking to my partners in law enforcement, there have been groups of people targeting people who are out at parties, and it just happened to come to Roosevelt Island, which is not a common place. So there are a lot of things that are going into this investigation, and hopefully with the help of Roosevelt Island and the really good video footage that we have, we are assisting the NYPD in this crime. And those were the four crimes for the month. We got a good trend going on, and I gotta say that that for the first 4 months of the year, we had 35 pettit larcenies, and these pettit larcenies were mostly attributed to Walgreens, Duane Reade, and Food Town. With our footposts right outside Riverwalk at this time, in May, we had one pettit larceny, down from an average of 8 pettit larcenies a month. We just, you know, that one footpost is a constant deterrent of people who would want to go into Walgreens and run out. So we have not had, you know, any incidents over there since we employed that footpost right outside Walgreens. The the verticals, we've been constantly keeping up with the verticals and the places where we need to do them, mostly in Roosevelt Landing and the Motorgate, in the 300s, the high 300s, times that we have these vertical patrols, and they are effective. And the reason why I say that they're effective is because that, especially in the Motorgate, it gives the people who are coming in and out of there a sense that PSC is around. So they, we have different times, different areas. Sometimes they take the cars in there and they go from top to bottom. Sometimes the officers walk inside the Motorgate, and it is effective. And then we have our biggest share of in our buildings at Roosevelt Landings, where we have performed 349 verticals. One other thing that I have to say.
49, I'm sorry, Kevin, 349 is all of the wire buildings?
No, just Roosevelt Landings.
Okay, 349, okay.
Roosevelt Landings. And one of the things that we did start in March, we had 2 officers dedicated to our traffic patrol. And in the month of May, they wrote a total of 14 summonses just to 2 officers. And combined with the other officers, they wrote 18 moving violations, which consisted of bicycles, U-turns, and stop sign summonses. So one of the things that we dedicating the 2 officers to our traffic patrol has worked effectively, and we're going to continue it. They're going to be out there. They're going to focus their attention on the stop signs, on the bicycles, and our U-turns, which are very dangerous on Roosevelt Island.
Is that shifts? Is that all 3 shifts or morning and
3
afternoon shifts?
Well, the 2 officers, they come in at 11 o'clock and they work until midnight.
Oh, okay. So they're not there in the morning. The morning is handled by the crosswalks who are doing the school.
Yes.
Okay.
And just looking at the agenda, so I can open it up. That pretty much takes me through my crime stats and my vertical patrol.
That's good, because I have a few questions and I see Mary's hand is already up. Mary?
Sure.
Kevin, can you please describe for us what these peace officers are going to do as opposed to what the rest of the department does?
Well, peace officers it's just a status that they attain. In order to be a full-fledged Roosevelt Island Public Safety Special Patrolman, you must have peace officer training. The peace officer training allows them to then write summonses and make arrests. Prior to getting that training, they cannot write summonses or make arrests.
Now, that was the question I had for you on this very thing. See, Mary, this is what we were waiting for. When Kevin and Anthony had explained all of the different training and all the hours of training, there's a regular public safety officer who has not gone through this training, which is an NYPD training or gotten certification. So I'm also wondering, it's great that we have an opportunity to do the peace officer training. How many officers will be doing that training? And does this provide the opportunity now out of your crew? Does this provide the opportunity now? Is there certification available? I know that they have to be certified after by NYPD. Is that on the horizon? Because we had several people
that is on the horizon,
but hadn't been.
That is on the horizon. So
numbers?
So right now, if I were to go through the numbers, there are 11 officers in training. They cannot write summonses. They cannot make arrests. They do not have the training. And it's sort of like just the NYPD. The only thing is that the NYPD, they go through the police academy, and for 6 months, they can't write summonses or make arrests. Our officers are pretty much on the job training.
Mhm.
When we hire them, we put them out there. They can direct traffic. They could answer calls, but they cannot make arrests or write summonses.
Okay,
And once they get their training, then they can, and their certification by the NYPD, then they can make arrests and write summonses.
Thank you.
one other question while we're on officers. We lost 2 officers, an officer and a supervisor. I was wondering the length of time that they had been with PSD. Whether you said that we have replacements, if they're able to be identified, who will be replacing these 2 officers, and whether or not they were PCOs, whether they were not, you know, special police, the peace officer.
All right, they were not SPOs.
Okay.
They both have been with PSC since December.
Oh, newbies.
Yes.
Okay. Great. I always wince when I know how much training you've put into it, and then they, you know, they go to a
No.
job interview with NYPD and they snatch them up.
No,
So-
they were not. And what was the third question? They
It was the people who are playing.
oh, and do we have replacements? We don't have replacements for them right this second. I have to do interviews and I will replace them in the next week or 2.
Thank you. That's helpful. And then I think.
And just to say this, we are gearing up for July 4th on Roosevelt Island, and
Great.
they will be here before July 4th. So before the next Monday. We only have a few days before July 4th, but I should have them by next week, the 2 officers.
Okay, I see that Rick has his hand up, but Frank, you had your hand up first. I may have missed it because it's not a bright color.
No problem. Thank you.
And then Rick.
We had as you know, we had a fire in 460 that in fact turned out to be arson on that. And I assume that's in this month's stats, not
And
last month.
that's in June.
Right, okay. What I wanted to mention was because I ran into some neighbors in 460, including the head of their tenants association. And it sounds like there's no verticals in that building. I suggested that they talk to their managing agent and work with you guys to get verticals, because just internally in that building, it sounds like there are a good number of problems in there. So
We are working with them, but they have a doorman until
Right.
until 11 p.m.
The other thing is they're not a wire building, Frank. I don't think they pay into public safety as the wire buildings do. So they need to get a security firm.
Oh,
right, no, I'm saying they could, I suggested that they do pay for public safety, but whatever, they need to get that. And I said that was one of the options. Thank you.
All right, Rick.
So I was just wondering how many total officers you have now on duty, and of that number, how many have the ability to make arrests and write tickets?
So I have a total of 20 who can make arrests and write tickets. I have 12 who are awaiting their SPO status from NYPD,
The certification,
the certification from NYPD,
training.
and I have 10 who are in training.
Oh, you had said 11 officers in training. Now.
I'm sorry, 11. You're right,
Okay.
11. You're 100% correct. And then we have our
Great. That's helpful to know. I think it's a good idea that they're in training. Okay. Other questions, or should we move on to the agenda items? Any other questions on this? I'm glad to hear the domestic violence, the disputes are down. And I guess it's nice to see that the foot patrols are working, that you're 7 down on the usual petty larcenies.
yes.
That's good management for that. And I think we'll find it's helped with other issues as well moving forward. But that's a good job on that. Okay, so shall we go on? Any dog, we have dog encounters, parking. All right, parking or unloading in areas. dog encounters, has there been any issues? How is it going? I know that you mentioned that they had given, tickets out for bikes, which I think is great, moving violations. How's it looking on the streets, on the lawns,
Well, we
with
have,
dogs, walking dogs and being on leashes, et cetera?
we've handed out signs. We've given community advisement, and we have not had as many encounters as we had previously with the dogs on and off the leash, whether they can walk them. Our PSC has been advising the people. We haven't given out tickets as of yet to anyone who has their dogs off the leash in the parks.
Not giving out tickets.
No, we have not. We have not given out any tickets. But we've done a lot of community interaction with dog owners, with pet owners. And RIOC, I said previously that we had to make sure that the dog owners had some place to go with their dogs, and RIOC is in the midst of fixing up the dog runs, making sure that they're acceptable to the community,
Right?
and so
Although those dogs will be on leashes anyway, generally, right? I mean, to and fro, and I think a lot of the
Yes.
times they're
Oh
on.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Dog
that's a
Not the
different.
little dogs, big dogs.
But the dogs have to be on a leash. The dog
Right.
must be on leashes.
That's just with the fields, I understand,
Yes.
but, okay,
So that was our not that we were hesitant, but we were being fair
No.
to the community.
community
that-
policing,
That if they really have to have some place for their dogs to go and exercise.
as long as there's no encounters. Now, signage, parking, unloading areas on Main Street. Have there been any more issues? Now I'm sort of happy because 595, Jack had always told me he was going to give us a spot to unload there. When RIOC had their office and we couldn't get into our breezeway. I don't really, as long as I can use the 595 breezeway when I come in, I'm not in anybody's ways, I'm happy. I think there are still some areas where with the congestion, people are having a difficulty parking. Mary down by her is always a problem. We know that there were issues with delivery trucks. How is congestion and people feel about places to go, unloading? Any other issues?
Well, we have a steady post, and they have been instructed that they are to help instead of hinder the people loading and unloading. And some people are not loading and unloading, some people are just standing, which those people are told to move along. But for the people loading and unloading, PSC is there to help. Give them an alternative spot, tell them where they can park safely. We have been doing a job out there in trying to recognize that there is a shortage of parking. And so we can try to assist with the people who need to load and unload. We have not had many complaints.
And has the 595 breezeway been used for the deli now?
Yes,
And has that been helpful?
yes, it has been.
Yeah, okay, great. And no problems
I have
from
not heard one
the
complaint
powers that be that own the building or anything?
that no one has.
Everyone's fine.
Yes.
Good.
no one has-
All right, that's great to hear. That'll help a lot. Now, signage update. The last we were speaking to you, some of the signage had been put up. You were talking about changing signage and including more things on it. Has anybody noticed? Is it up?
Well,
Any
I can
problems?
tell you this, there has been signage that has been up. But working together with capital planning, they have a larger task at hand that they want to make all of the roadways and all of the sign conform.
Vicky,
And
good.
they're in the middle of their traffic study. Some of the signs that we are trying to rectify might be temporary, might be a temporary fix. For instance, I think maybe a year ago, Mary Kavanaugh pointed out that there was no one-way sign from basically from the F train all the way to the Blackwell House on the West Roadway. And we went out there and we put up a one-way sign. Just so that everyone knows that that roadway is one way. So we have initiated some temporary fixes. We are working with capital planning and with the maintenance department to address signage.
I see Mickey is here. Mickey, do you have anything specific on this planning process since your planning committee chair? Just anything on this? We're talking just signage. I just brought up signage, parking.
Yeah, I think signage has been in your committee and we have not really taken up that issue. We're more on bigger capital projects.
Right, with planning though, he was talking. So Kevin, okay, just wanted to give you a shot. So Kevin, the planning, the capital planning is doing is to change, and I see, is that a hand, Mary?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is to change the signage as we have it. They're looking at the layout of Roosevelt Island and they're making decisions about how things should run and possibly changing signage.
Possibly, yes.
Okay,
They want to, you know, they have a bigger project, and it's all of the roads and the signs all conform to normalness, I guess. There were some signs that are that you know, just walking it, you know, that are difficult. So just the stop signs on Main Street, they were all over the place.
right, I agree.
Yeah, there's at least one that's very difficult to see. And if you're not from the island, you may not know it's there.
Right. Okay, and so also, are they also, is the helix, the bicycle helix and the bike lanes, is that being discussed with capital planning as well, or is that sort of off the radar at this point?
It is being discussed. I don't know how close or how far they are in that project.
Okay. Frank, I see your hand is up. Welcome, Gabriel.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi. So I was able to get in touch with Deputy Amoroso, and we're having an appointment on Friday at noon to walk through some of the signage. So I'm not going to raise any issues in this meeting, as I promised them we'd walk through some of the stuff. So we'll get back to the next meeting.
Okay, well, hopefully you'll discuss it with the Public Safety Committee so we know what the issues are that.
Oh, well, of course. Yes,
Okay.
I'll send you a report as soon as I have it.
Okay, no problem. All right, Kev, thanks on that point. So thank you. And I appreciate the signs that you've done have been necessary, although it looks a little bit like a checkerboard or something at points, you know, but it will be great to have them conform and hopefully be improved. Mary, I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. I've got 3 points. First
Okay,
of all, I am sorry, Kevin. I need you to remind me why the hydrant in front of the deli is all blocked off. What is the rationale for that?
You want to give me all three and I'll answer all three?
No, one at a time.
Okay, so we had a complaint from the fire department that there were a number of cars that were always parked on the hydrant. Whenever they would come, they do inspections, and we had no other way of keeping the cars off of the hydrant.
And yet trucks often double park in front of the hydrant in front of Rivercross. The fire department doesn't complain about that?
We moved the cars. There were a couple of other issues with the fire hydrant, Mary. With just when you talk to the fire department, when they talk about safety, and when they come, they don't come to get into an argument with. They're not police officers to get into arguments with people who are sitting on a hydrant. That's not their job. Their job is to get the job done, get there if there's a fire, and move them along. So it's not necessarily their trucks that are here, but it's their fire inspectors that are here. And they came different times, and different times, the only thing they saw was the fire hydrant being blocked 24/7.
Well, it's just doesn't make any sense to me. particularly, as I say, consistently from most of the morning into the early afternoon, trucks are parked in front of the hydrant at River Cross. Delivery trucks for it's not called across the street. It's called Wholesome Market. They're making deliveries there. And then there's always a truck parked in front of there. All right, that was the one point, and still I don't grasp why the fire department worries about one and not the other.
Also, one thing, Mary, is there some reason that they can't use the breezeway, Kevin? That if they're delivering, doesn't Wholesome Factories have a breezeway that's adjacent to the property that they could utilize so that they're not in river crosses?
Wholesome, for the most part, they attempt to coordinate with PSC with their deliveries. They get more deliveries than anyone else.
Yeah.
And I understand that sometimes that trucks double park, but they're in and out quickly. Most of the time, if they are double park, we try to keep the traffic flowing, and they make deliveries, and we try to keep they are trying to cooperate with us and try to be as less of a nuisance as possible.
So the issue with the breezeway is that there's not
The
space
truck that
available, or there are cars parked in there,
No.
or the egress isn't big enough, or just,
The trucks that I think Mary speaking about, they shouldn't be parked in those breezeways.
they're
Why not?
big.
They're larger trucks.
Oh, I'm talking about all kinds of trucks, large ones, medium-sized ones, small ones. It depends on what they're delivering. And then, of course, we also have the FedEx guy, and
We get the FedEx guys in the breezeways.
yeah, they go in the breeze.
So if
Sometimes
they're
even the breezeway
cooperating,
today.
but if they're cooperating with public safety department can be mindful of the fact that, the first option should be the breezeway, obviously by the store. Sometimes there may be an overflow, Mary, where there's not really a
We
choice.
give them every
Trucks at once.
opportunity to make their deliveries.
Mhm.
And sometimes I believe the trucks are just too darn big. They can't fit into the breezeway. They're too
Right,
That's
high.
that's
that's
possible.
sometimes
They're
the
too
trucks
high.
are too large.
Okay, so that was what, second, the Mary Kavanaugh refrain, you were discussing parking. People park for hours without ever buying a muni ticket, and they will continue to do that until they get parking tickets.
I can tell you this, Mary, in May, my officers wrote 470 parking tickets, which is a lot of parking tickets.
That is a lot of parking tickets, which makes my point, how many of people are illegally parked? Is it true that you only have 3 officers who can write parking tickets?
You
No,
just
that's not
told
true.
us 20 public safety officers have public special patrolman status and are certified by NYPD.
Yeah.
A
Okay, so
true
there's 20
lengthy
of them.
process that can do tickets. Now, how many?
Now,
per
that
shift?
could be 20 on that day when you
Right. How
may
many
have
per
asked
shift?
somebody with their 3 officers who can write tickets, but we have 20 throughout the entire department who can write
And
tickets.
how many are on duty at any given time?
I have a schedule, Mary. We have, it varies.
That's a consideration, though, when you're scheduling
We
your men.
schedule, there
Of course,
are,
to have people who
there
have.
are
the
at least 3 of
experience
them
to
on
mentor.
duty on every tour, at least.
Kevin, in one of the previous meetings in April, maybe I can't recall, I can't find it in my note. You said that you had requested more muni ticket dispensers.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you informed us.
No,
that-
I said that I was going to pass that information along to capital planning.
No, to assess it. And
Yes.
they came back and they gave him a number, which we should dispute because they took the whole island, including all the stuff down at the Graduate Center, which is not the same as Main Street, which shortchanged us. And you did say that you would bring that back to their attention.
And I have, and they have not been either positive or negative on it. But
Petition time?
I have walked it, and that's what I said. I've walked it myself and I realized that there were only, I think, two from Blackwell to, I think, 591. There's only two
Right.
mini meters.
590,
Yeah, and
625.
I think
That's me walking it.
that goes a long way to explaining why people don't bother getting the muni ticket. Because it is a long walk for them. But
And hard to find.
I walk my dog all the time. You've seen me walking my dog, and I look and look and look and look to see an automobile with a parking ticket on it.
They receive parking tickets. They have 470.
We get them up in my neighborhood, Mary.
Well, that ought to make the parking situation improve.
Not necessarily.
What's the fine? What's the fine for a parking violation?
They vary, depends on what their violation is.
I heard somebody got a $125 one because her tire was on the white part of an area where people park all the time. But we won't
I would
go
have to
there.
look into that, but
You did look into it, Kevin. Okay, let's move on, Mary. You had a third one?
No, I have to forget
Let's
it.
stick to our schedule.
It's okay. Move to your schedule.
Okay, when you remember, come back. Speed cushions, effectiveness. Oh, go ahead.
no, the speed cushions, I actually put in a request to have 2 more installed. I think that they slow people down. They slow me down. I drive the island. I go around the island every day, a few times a day, and I think that they're slowing people down.
Okay, I got a couple of hands. Mickey?
Yes, I think the one near the school is a very good position one. The only other one I've encountered is the one in the Cornell Loop on the Queen side,
This
and
is 2.
there's
One
2
on
there.
each side.
One on each side, that's right. And they're both positioned very poorly. There's no, I mean, you could go over those things and then they're nowhere near a crosswalk where people cross. And it seems to me that you really want to slow people down, 100 feet in front of a crosswalk or something like that, so that they can't just speed up again and go through the crosswalk. I think they're totally malpositioned in Southtown, and they're in the bike lane. So what happens is all the bicyclists don't want to ride over them. I'm a bicyclist. They have about there's a 1-inch ridge. We don't like that. So we ride around them. And what happens when you ride around them, you're riding right next to the cars in the street. So it actually endangers bicycles. They should have put one of the small, they have it goes all the way. Well, one of them has a grate there, so they didn't put it over the grate, but they should have put one with a lane in the middle so that the bikes didn't have to ride around it and they could ride through it. And instead they put a solid one. It's like 8 feet wide, 7 feet wide, let's say, there. And whereas the ones they put in the street they're narrower, they're not 7 feet. So why they did that, I don't know. They also have it in the parking lane. Not sure why it's there. I think it's to prevent people from going around them, but it has the effect of endangering bicycles. It's really not a good idea.
They're called speed cushions because they have, what they do is allow the buses to not go over the humps.
I know why you said that. I know that, but to put a solid one in the bicycle lane is not good. It's not good. It doesn't help. It hinders bicycle traffic, and it shouldn't be like that. And also the placement should be 100 feet or so in front of less than 100 feet in front of a crosswalk, or else they're not going to do any. The main thing you need to prevent is for an accident with somebody crossing the street. If that's not going to be anywhere near the crosswalk, it's not going to be effective. And I don't think the position of either one of those in Southtown is the correct position. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I can tell you this. The purpose of the speed cushions and the placement was to evaluate them. And I think that after 90 days, they're going to reevaluate the position.
I hope they
So I think Mickey has
take
a very
everything into
good
account.
point
Yeah.
on speeding down. I mean, I
I
understand
would-
they have it in the
I'm gonna
middle when
tell you,
people
I'm
are
not-
going
I'm
really
not the
fast,
engineer,
but the danger
And I'm
is
not
to
the expert on the
pedestrian
speed
crossing.
cushion placement.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but,
mean,
but
it
it
might be
seems to me
something
if
to
they were
promote.
experts, they would have known this and they would have put it in a better position.
I think that
I'm very disappointed that they
they
don't
had
know
an
what they're
input
doing.
from DOT. I can tell you that.
And then the other thing that I told you, and I don't think these things are gonna last with trucks and buses going over them. I think in 3 years, have to be replaced. And I'm not sure why we can't find the place to have asphalt ones. They can be made, I've seen them in California, just the same as the ones you have. They have spaces in between, exactly the same thing, except they're permanent and they don't wear out. And the trucks don't.
Well, I think
I know it
that-
costs a lot more money, but
I-
it's
I-
the right solution, you know,
I think
everybody
part
will
of
like
the
it better.
issue was that they wanted to make this temporary to see if it worked.
Okay, all right, fine. But if they go with the rubber ones, they just don't last all that. I mean, it depends on the traffic, but if you have big trucks go over them, they're not gonna last. I've seen many displaced by that, so
All
I
right,
know that it does happen.
thank you, Mickey. Frank?
Hi, I just want to say,
Good point.
in summary, I agree with pretty much every point that Mickey made, including they really shouldn't be in the bike lanes, and also that they're poorly positioned in Southtown. So the only place that I've heard of speed where this would have an effect are the people who drag race and stuff like that. And the way they're positioned is that it's at the beginning of East Loop Road. Should be somewhere towards the middle on that, so they can accelerate up to 50 miles an hour, which they can right now once you've crossed the speed hump. Also, I'll say, just like I've said before, I've tested this. The speed cushions offer no deterrent. I drive over them almost every day. As long as I put one wheel on the road and the other one goes over the speed hump, it doesn't slow me down. There's no need to slow down. It has little effect on the passengers in the car. The biggest effect on passengers on the car is the actual bump in the road across from the Dr. Grimm's and Dr. Resnick's office in the Z-Brick. So and in front of the school, I hear Mickey's point on that. I'm willing to take a look at that. I'm not sure if that affects the motorists, because especially when they double and triple park there, the speed cushions don't really have an effect. But I think that whole area needs to be redesigned. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Any other comments on this?
I did remember what my other question was.
Barry? Go ahead.
He spoke a long time ago about, in terms of signage, signs that say curb your dog.
Right.
Are they on an agenda anywhere?
It was dog discussion, encounters discussion. We should have done it. then, but we
We
can
do have some new
talk about
dog
it.
signs that Rosanna has helped design, and those dog signs are coming very shortly.
Okay, I'm just going to point out, they have such gracious signs down in Southtown. Maybe Rick can remember what the verbiage is, but it's just very, I'm sorry, I don't remember it, but it's not as simple as curb your dog. It's respect our property or something. They're very, very nice signs. But you say Rosanna has designed signs
He's helped us.
and they are coming.
Yes.
And where will they be placed?
They'll be placed at the places where they need dog signs.
Excuse me?
They'll be placed where dogs poop.
Yeah.
Which is generally pretty much everywhere.
There's some places more than others.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Is that a new hand, Mickey?
Yes,
Okay.
I want
go
to say
ahead.
I saw at least one curb your dog sign on, I think there's one up on Roosevelt Landing somewhere. If
I
not
actually
more.
like curb your dog.
Yeah, and I saw people's dogs go right under the sign too.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it has any effect. That's the problem. You can have all the signs you want, and don't feed the pigeons, and people are right next to them feeding the pigeons. So Mary, while I sympathize, I think the signage should be put up. One shouldn't have too much expectation.
There are a lot of signs about dog poop and curb your dogs. There's more signs up in this community than a few.
People need to be educated on what curb your dog means because it's no longer used. People are like, once people started picking up after their dog, they thought that entitled their dogs to crap anywhere, like anywhere on the street, the sidewalk, in front of the door, really. Whereas in the old days, you walked your dog to go to the bathroom in the street where it was cleaned up when sanitation came through and cleaned it up. You could still walk them over and then it's not in the middle of a sidewalk. But people obviously don't know what that means anymore. Gabriel.
Do we have any metrics? You say that you've had over 400 tickets for parking. Do we know how many have been actually dispensed for allowing dogs to poop? And
I have
loiter?
zero. We have written 0 tickets for dog poop. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think, we go back to actions and consequences, right? So we can put as many signs as possible, but the bottom line is, I'm near Manhattan Park and there's these big signs that say, do not allow your dog to be on the grass as everything else. And they allow the dogs right in front of the sign to go in there because there are no consequences. There's none. No one says anything to them. Same thing with these signs. And I do respect the fact that the signs are all over the place. I do understand that. But if there's no reinforcement, I'm not too sure there's any type of accountability. Sorry to say. It's same thing as parking, right? If you put signs all over the place saying you will have a fine and there are no fines, guess what?
Mhm.
So, and I think we brought this up to like prior that if your officer sees someone, actually they would issue that issue summons, right? So it almost seems to me
not many people let their dog poop in front of an officer. I don't know if my officers would just turn their head and not do anything. So,
and I'm not accusing them of that.
Well, we had talked about
I'm
that.
definitely not accusing them of that, but I think that this conversation is one where we will come back and forth on this because there is no way of really implementing any type of, if there's no sense of action on the residents' end. So
At one point, Kevin, we had asked, and you were going to consider using officers on patrol, on their foot patrols. They were going to pay more attention to certain areas like behind, I think, Roosevelt landings on the promenade. There were certain areas that people have identified over in his neighborhood that are highly, people walk a lot of dogs and don't pick up after themselves. Did you start to do that? I mean,
So
at one point we had discussed
my
that.
officers have directives. And one of their directives is that if they do witness any, that is something that we encourage that they write a ticket for. Not many people, like I said, have their dog pooping in front of an officer and just don't pick them
And
up.
they're out.
Away.
And the officers are out walking
officers
around in situations where they would be exposed to that,
Yeah,
correct?
that they are.
Okay.
And
Rick, no, go ahead.
I can tell you myself, I walk around, I don't see many people who just let their dogs poop in front of me.
Where's it all coming from, Kev? Maybe
Well, they're doing it,
streets all
but
day.
they're obviously doing it, but
yeah.
It's not like this. It's like recklessness, like it's almost made out to be. Like just dogs are pooping all over Roosevelt Island.
I think we need a candid camera.
But all my officers, do they go down to Manhattan Park and constantly tell the people that dogs are not allowed on the grass? Yes, because I've seen them do it.
Yeah.
Do they go all the parks? Do they get into a back and forth a number of times with people? And the first thing they say, don't you have something better to do than to tell us to not have our dogs on the grass? But that's what we're doing our job.
Yeah. I mean, there's a quality of life issue, right? That
That's
people
right.
respect and be able to actually go.
I can show you letters of
Education.
residents and friends of all of yours that have written me saying, have your officers do something better than to tell me to not have my dog on firefighters field.
Unfortunately.
Why are you telling me this?
Not a friend of mine.
I can show you guys. I have a book full of letters.
Yeah.
From
I'd
your
like to
neighbors.
see them sometime, Kevin, and I've got a candy
I'll
camera.
gladly show you.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Rick,
guess you walk a real fine line and we respect that. It's just, it just has become a little bit of a nuisance at this point.
And I agree. And I definitely,
Summer's coming.
I definitely agree.
Rick, you have some?
Yeah, just to support a little bit of about what Kevin is saying. I've heard from quite a few Southtown dog owners who get upset because they say public safety officers are following them around. You know, and they feel a little bit intimidated by having public safety officers following them around. So I guess the reason why they're doing that is to make sure they don't, you know, poop or do whatever, you know, they're not supposed to do, and to witness it. So there are public safety officers who are, you know, who are looking out for that.
Following them around. That
I
sounds
have
a
yet
bit
to
like
see
someone's
one.
been diagnosed with paranoia, you know? I mean, let's get the DSM-5 out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I walk my dog a couple of times a day. I have yet to see that, you know, so I'm a dog owner.
Got
as
your
well.
face now, Gabriel. You got this one, Kev, right? All right. Any other questions or issues or?
Was the end result that there are going to be signs?
There
Yeah,
are going to be signs, ones that Rosanna had assisted in designing. You don't have a date. And then I also, do you have a date they're coming in? And then trying to figure out a date maintenance is going to put them up. Mary, we've been through this.
I have actually a question on the speed bumps that I'm sorry. to
good.
bring that
Okay.
back again.
sure.
The speed bumps that are, you spoke about Southtown, but
Speed
anywhere on the northern side of it, near the, you know, near the soccer field, near the actual
I just
fire station.
I just requested 2 more, and one of them is in that area from Cola Hospital or Octagon down to the fire department.
Yeah,
That
I
area.
think, you know, there's children walking around, obviously the soccer field and so on. And I see cars taking that curve right near the actual fire station for no reason whatsoever, speeding up when there's nothing to speed up on. And
Yes.
it becomes a little bit of a danger to the children that are actually.
I specifically requested as you know, to have that area looked at and possibly have the speed cushion installed there.
Good idea. And
Good
what is with the parking? Is there still a lot I think a month ago,
Yeah.
someone had mentioned there's
Well,
like a lot of people, they're used to, you know, they used to stay behind. And remember, I would call Jack all the time and I'd take pictures because I was feeding cats at Octagon. And
Well, one of the things that you know, with the summer, well, with the warmer days that came, is that people would park either in the DEP area,
Mhm.
right next to the soccer field, or along double parked. I mean, on the east side of the street,
Mhm.
near the soccer field, and most of those people are right near their cars, and we have not had to write as many tickets of the cars that are there, but we have written a number of tickets in that area.
Do you have any jurisdiction in terms of the area near Manhattan Park where they're all parked on the sidewalk, like there is, like it's a parking lot? I
It's
mean,
horrible.
it's horrible. It's
Manhattan Park, we don't have any jurisdiction,
It's
It's
your
embarrassing,
management.
and Manhattan Park made that a parking lot.
And the
it's
way we're
embarrassing.
addressing it, RIOC is opening a temporary, there's the parking, unfortunately, there's like a 300-person waiting list. So there's a lot of people that are not able to park, but while they're still fixing Motorgate, Manhattan Park's part still has to be done. They're allowing all those cars to park there.
It is.
If they asked them to give tickets, then they could, but because that's their property, like the speedways belong
Right.
to the buildings,
Mhm.
they have the right not to. And we've complained, other people in Manhattan Park have complained. I think the president of RIOC was considering additional parking over by Kohler, the hospital parking lot.
Mhm.
We thought they should really possibly extend what they already have at Motorgate and park over where the garages, the buses and RIOC's area is. That would be a good place. But at this point, Manhattan Park is responsible for that. And they promised, didn't they, Kevin, that it would be over soon? I
Yes.
mean, is there
Well,
a
the
time
construction's
frame?
almost over.
Erin, can
terrible.
I ask you a question? You said
I
that
don't
there's
think so.
300, a list of 300 in terms of the waiting.
I think it's about that, isn't it,
I-
Nikki?
100.
I look at that garage every day from my window. There's plenty of spots, plenty of spots. I park there every day.
Well,
Right,
there's a,
some are reserved.
there actually is a counter,
There is.
a counter on the outside of the garage. So you may see plenty of spots, but people have paid for those spots.
It
And
is.
people
it
go to
is.
work at different times and.
Yeah,
people,
it's
you
just
know,
I mean, we all agree.
There's a counter on how many cars are in the garage.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that every day when I park in.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the actual, I heard the 300 number and then I'm
so,
literally looking across the street and I see the upper level always empty. And therefore, but as I said, as you said, there might be some paid for spots there. So
Yes.
No,
Frank
no, they
Grants has
haven't
his
opened
hand up.
everything up.
All
And
the
he's
spots are
done.
paid for.
The one, he's not the
Mickey,
right.
wait a
person.
second. You can come in because Island Services and Mickey's committee, which is
Yeah, we're
planning
supposed to.
and public safety, were looking at this. Frank was there and there were reasons. Frank, do you want to share something?
Yeah, I was just going to say to Gabriel, you know, I have a spreadsheet where I've actually accounted for almost every spot, you know, plus or minus 5 on a floor, but on throughout Motorgate. And the issue is, let me just point to 2 issues. I think as several have said, some of those are reserved spots, in which case a car that's reserved, I'm sorry, some of them are monthly spots, and a monthly spot does not have a sign assigned to it. So you can't include that as in the available spot. So I see a number like 30, that's possibly within the ballpark. It might be 50-ish, but you know, it's not 250-ish. Okay. And then there's a policy issue, which is on the top floor, the 8th floor of Motorgate, where right now that's limited to people who have rooftop parking, which is people who live in, I think like one of the affordable housing requirements, like Section 8 housing, they can get cheap parking there. But largely its utilization is poor. I think there's ways to address that, to make that open. That would give us, you know, another 100 spots, and then the building the last quadrant, that would give us about 500 spots, which would certainly address the waiting lists on that. So, you know, there are good solutions that are available, but I think that number, I won't say it's accurate within 1, 2, or 3, but it's probably accurate within about 15.
Thank you, Frank.
Like I said, they are trying to address the parking issue.
I just wanted to point out that the roof, to my experience, people who come onto the island, drive onto the island every day to work here, they get a discount and they park on the roof.
They can park anywhere.
Oh, I thought that, no, a woman who works.
Roosevelt Landings, I believe the section, the people who have subsidies can park on the roof. But I think people who come, like I know Erica, who worked for RIOC, used to park right next to where I have a spot. And that's not on the roof. That was on the
That is
third floor.
correct. People who work can park anywhere.
Anywhere. And they do get a discount.
Yeah, well,
Mickey, did you have anything you wanted to say? Did you have a question from that, Mary, or just?
No,
Okay, Mickey, do you have anything on this subject? Because you were
Oh,
part of this. Okay. Okay. Any other issues? Thank you, Kevin. Any other issues? Romana, hi, welcome. We were talking about your building. How is it in 460? Any issues in 460 you want addressed or any concerns?
Other than, I mean, there was a fire recently in our building, which I'm sure public safety is aware of. So, evidently, I guess they're possibly, I mean, I don't know the cause of the fire, but there's sort of a rumor about
It
possibly
was
somebody.
deliberately set and the
It was
person was
arson.
arrested.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
It was deliberately set and the person was arrested.
Oh, wow.
And I responded to that fire as Red Cross, and I did a damage assessment on it. It was suspicious when we got there in terms of the burn pattern.
Wasn't there, it was many units though, right? It wasn't just, it spread.
No, this one, no, what spread was the water damage because basically it triggered the sprinklers. I'm guessing there was like a foot of water in the room, and when public safety opened the door, then it all came gushing out. So there was a lot of water damage, some smoke damage, but there was virtually no, I would say, no fire damage.
All right. So Mary?
Yeah, the last item, the deli incident.
Yes. Any update, Kev?
No update, still under investigation,
Investigation meaning
meaning that.
you haven't seen any,
RIOC
I haven't gotten, my FOIL hasn't been answered. I don't think Frank's FOIL has been answered. Have you been able to get
Not
hold
answered.
of any of the films, any of the
No,
footage?
we have no footage. We have
I know
no
there's
footage.
nothing inside, but none of the streets, the 5 different cameras. And so
Okay.
there's still, RIOC's legal team is meeting with
Legal is
Wiley.
to the women's legal team.
Wiley, yeah. Okay, Rick, you have your hand up?
Yeah, are you on to new subjects? Is that it?
Yes.
So yeah, I just wanted to ask about searches going on at Lighthouse Park. I got an email from a bike rider that was trying to enter Lighthouse Park, and the public safety officers wouldn't let him in unless he allowed them to search his bag.
Well, search is a strong word, but we do check for alcohol coming into the park. And you're not allowed to bring alcohol into the park. And if you don't want us to check for alcohol coming into the park, then most likely you're not going to be allowed into the park.
And do you cover every area to get in? There's several ways to get into the park.
Well, we're not jumping over, we're not running after people.
No,
This
I'm
is-
not
this-
saying it's a
no,
bad
no,
thing, Kevin.
but
Some
this
people,
is
you know,
what one
like
of our
bring a
issues was
picnic
with
basket,
that.
but I'm just,
This is what one of our issues was with that. Out the Lighthouse Park, family parks, and we have seen in the past that alcohol events at the park leads to bigger problems later on in the day.
right.
Alcohol is not permitted into the park; it's prohibited. And if you do have alcohol, and if you do bring it in, we were escorting you out. Now we're writing your tickets if you do bring alcohol into the park.
Is there a sign up that states that there is? Okay. I'm just- Okay, Rick?
No,
Your
that's
hand's
it.
still up?
Yeah, no,
Okay, so, and my question though, there's several ways to get into the park. So do you have people on, I remember when I
On the
went
east
to
and the west
Signage,
side.
I was questioned, when I saw you that time, there was the east side and the west side, there's different ways to get into the park.
Yes, on the east and the west side.
Okay,
But we are scaling back on that because for the most part, people have been compliant and we are scaling back on that.
well, July 4th has always been a big event, and it's better that you don't,
We
Do
will have
something
people there on July.
right, that people, if you do it sporadically, then people don't understand that it's the policy, people's memories, and then they say, oh, they're just doing it because it's, it starts to get personal. So it's almost better that, it be known as the policy, because July 4th, that's generally comes up and is an
We
issue.
will have people there on July 4th.
yeah, just
maybe-
I'll follow
ahead,
up quickly on that. Just one quick follow-up. Has the RIOC legal team just researched the constitutionality of this type of search?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Do you know something we don't know? Rick, is that why you're smiling?
No, I'm asking for people that have asked me about it.
Okay, okay. Mickey?
Yes, I have another issue to bring up.
Yes.
It has to do with July 4th.
Okay,
I saw the announcement from RIOC, and this is not a good announcement for us. I mean, we have to be, if we have a car, we want to get on the island, we have to be back by 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Unless you're gonna park into Motorgate.
I thought from the announcement, even if you were going to park in Motorgate, you still had to be there by 3 o'clock.
If you're gonna park into Motorgate, we'll let you on to park into Motorgate. You won't be able to come onto the island.
Okay.
as long
But
as you
you
have
will let
ID.
us, you will let us get to Motorgate if we come
Yes.
after 3 o'clock.
Yes,
That was not so clear from the announcement.
yes.
I would have to read it again, but I'm not sure that that was
You can
very
go into
clearly
Motorgate.
stated. Could you just check the announcement again and make sure that that's clear, because I didn't have that
Well,
impression.
I
Maybe
think
misread it.
that, there was a lot into the announcement.
It was a
and-
big announcement, yes.
Yes, and I think that, to put, well, what if I get there at 5 after 3, or what, there were so many what ifs. But if you're going to drive your car from Vernon into the Motorgate, you'll be allowed.
And how long is the line going to be if they're stopping and stopping? and
Mine is
turning
going to
cars
be very
around, et
long on
cetera?
July 4th.
That was the issue with the bike race that time. It took 2.5 hours to get, several blocks.
I can tell you right now, the line is going to be very long on July 4th.
Is that hand back up, Mickey, or is that a new hand or old hand?
Well, it's still up because I just read the